The story of Welsh football began in 1876, and ever since it's been a series of very few highs and many devastating lows. The story has been well documented through the eyes of players, managers and ex-pros. But what about the people who have travelled around the world, spending their hard-earned money to follow them? From Zagreb to Helsinki, Moscow to Tel Aviv, and Andorra to Zenica, we take a look at their story, told by them, the Welsh football fans.
Okay, well, it all started for me in 1985.
My first away game with Wales was November 1989.
Luxembourg in about 1990.
We lost 4-0 to Italy in Bologna in 1999.
It was Cologne against West Germany.
1-1-0, I think Clayton Blackmore scored.
Scotland, where Ian Rush scored, and we won 1-0.
From that, you just get the bug and you're hooked. There's no way back. The last 6 months or so, it's come home to me just how many of the disappointments I've seen watching Wales.
The Romania game was probably the worst experience for me that I've had following Wales.
But all the excitement of that game, we thought we were going to do it, and just so deflating.
To lose that game and to miss out on a campaign, I got to be honest, I thought at that particular moment in time that was the best chance we ever had.
And you just thought, it's us, we're doomed. We're doomed to failure forever.
After a bad start to the Euro 2012 campaign, John Toshak was replaced as manager by Gary Speed, who guided Wales to a flurry of wins against Switzerland, Montenegro and Bulgaria to finish off the campaign, followed by a convincing 4-1 win against Norway in a friendly. There was a real sense that something exciting was happening in Welsh football.
And we were all full of hope, you know, the people reporting on Wales, the fans were full of hope. And we thought, this is the brink of something.
For once in my lifetime, it felt like we were going places. We were getting results together, we were playing as a unit. We'd got lots of good young players coming through together. I mean, Toshak gets a bad press, but he blooded these youngsters, and they were all now starting to come to fruition. They were getting to the early 20s, and they already had 20 caps underneath their belt. And it just felt like something was growing. And then all of a sudden, in typical Welsh fashion, the rug is pulled out from under your feet.
I had a phone call off somebody who was actually at the Swansea game, which was being played that day. And a good friend of mine, who's a reporter on another radio station, actually was on 5 Live at the time, and he rang me, he said, Rob, I got some really bad news for you. He said, because John Hartson was due to be commentating with him, summarising with him. He said, John's had to pull out because we've been told that Gary Speed has passed away.
I just remember this sinking feeling coming over me, you know, but a tear came into my eye, and I remember I've always sort of mocked people who've been really sad over celebrities' deaths. I never quite got it, and this really, really hit me, and I really can't explain why. I mean, maybe, you know, football really does pull at the heartstrings more than anything else.
It took an awful long time for Welsh football collectively, football in general, I think, to get over the death of Gary Speed and the circumstances around it.
It sends shivers through me now, and you're just like, my God, this is real. Gary Speed's dead. How's that happened?
And of course, the guy himself was such a really pleasant guy, you know. He'd always made time for everyone. I mean, I only met him a couple of times, but everyone I know, no one had a bad word to say about him.
Yeah, dark day.
It was a really difficult time after Speed died. You know, we had no idea who was going to come in. I mean, a lot of us wanted Dutch Ray and Osian Roberts to take over. I think the players themselves voiced that opinion.
Nothing sums up the contribution of Gary Speed more in saying what he left with the national team took so long to get back to that.
We lost some sort of edge there for a few months. And of course, that led up to the Serbia defeat.
we were just absolutely played off the park. We looked disorganised, we looked pathetic. We actually looked, no disrespect, but we actually looked like a conference type team playing a Premiership team.
I think Chris Coleman was trying to continue doing things the Gary Speed way, and that was a catharsis for him. That was the point where he said, I can't do it this way, I have to do it my way or move on. So in hindsight, yes, it needed to happen. That needed to be the watershed moment where he just goes, you know what, I have to be my own person.
And for particularly the Welsh players to get over the grieving, losing a leader like that, and then coming back, which makes what's happened in the last 2 years even more remarkable.
Andorra started off with a nice little trip and the night before in Barcelona.
And you just thought, well, you know, this is an easy start. This is the gimme. This is the one in the group we know we're going to win. And then you see that pitch, and it's the worst 3G pitch I've ever seen. And then we go behind to a dodgy penalty, and you're like, it's always us. Why always us?
And with the players we had, we really should have beaten them by 3 or 4 goals.
And time was ticking on, and we thought, we're going to draw. At best, we're going to draw. And then Gareth Bale steps up with a few minutes to go.
I can remember Gareth Bale taking that free kick, it going in, winning 2-1, and the scenes have been very well documented of several entering onto the pitch.
With a late goal, I think it's better than maybe winning 3-0. You've really got the spirit behind you then going into the next few games, which was important. At the time, of course, I didn't quite appreciate that. And I know that I was sitting looking into my pint wondering, God, where do we go from here? If we can only beat Andorra 2-1, there's no chance we're going to qualify for France.
It's just great to see us packing the stadiums back out again and performing excellently as well.
It was a really good feeling. I think, the players speak about, having a 12th man. I'm not sure how true that is, something. But that night, we didn't play to our best, but we really played not to concede. And we did really well. We sort of carried the players on just when they needed that extra fight to put the extra tackles in, put their bodies on the line. And thankfully, coming away from that with a 0-0 draw, so that's 4 points from the first 2 games, going to Cyprus at home. Again, we knew we could win, we knew we should win. And being 2-0 up in that game, okay, then we had the red card, but it really, really gave a feel-good factor.
And confidence is back on a high. It's like back in the days of the Romania group. We just thought, we can't mess it up this time, can we?
We all travelled with a bit of fear and trembling at just about how good Belgium could be.
The whole of the country was starting to get behind the football team again, and rather than the usual 1,500 to 2,000 turning up, all of a sudden there were thousands and thousands in the city, and it started to feel like something might be happening.
It was a rainy, miserable night, but certainly the atmosphere amongst the fans weren't dampened.
Backs against the wall, team spirit, we really dug in deep.
The result, a draw, they say to qualify you need to win your home games and pick up what you can in draws away from home.
It was nerve-wracking. I remember biting my nails, the final whistle going, celebrating as if we'd won. I think that really showed the togetherness of the players, the togetherness of the fans, and of course, when we got 2,500 fans anyway, the atmosphere is always superb. And I think we showed that. I hope the team heard it.
This group of players showed that there's more to it for them. They are playing for the pride of the nation. They understand that. They get where we are coming from. They think like we think.
The players dancing, throwing their shirts into the crowd after a 0-0 draw really showed, I think, what we're all about.
I think that was the real turning point of the belief that we're on the road to France. As far as I'm concerned, absolutely the best trip of the campaign.
Lots of people who knew nothing about football would say, why are you going there? Why would you put yourself in danger? But there was no danger. I thought Tel Aviv was an amazing city.
And historically, these are the types of games where Wales will go and will flounder, and this is where the group starts to fall apart.
Nobody knew what to expect. It was a very passionate Israeli crowd, great Welsh support, and the result just made everything. It was just a totally dominant performance.
To win that game 3-0, we just took them apart. And that was the first time we felt there is something special, completely something special happening here. Surely this time even we can't throw this away.
The atmosphere all day in Cardiff was absolutely amazing.
When you've got a full house in Cardiff, particularly this stadium now, you know, it's better than the Millennium Stadium. There's 30,000 people who really, really want to be there to watch the football.
To go into that game thinking, right, okay, we get a positive result. That is then one foot is in France.
Nangolan, who was based in Italy, was probably the best Belgian player on the night. The midfield player was everywhere, but he made one mistake.
But who should he give the ball away to in the area but Gareth Bale? He turns and buries it, and that place exploded. I had my 8-year-old boy with me, and he was screaming his lungs out. He was on my shoulders, but at the end, he'd never seen anything like it. He is adamant he's never seen Wales lose. He thinks Wales are brilliant. I'm trying to warn him he's not always like this.
And you talked about the contribution of the fans. That was the first time where the anthem just struck up with no band, just the fans.
Play it back, you know, every month or so. You know, I live abroad now. It's one of those things that really makes me proud to be Welsh when I watch it back.
And it was just an extraordinarily emotional night. Brilliant. One of those nights that will always live with you.
Cyprus away with the boys in the sun.
Another warm, sunny country. We don't get many of those.
Just when we thought, God, nothing's going to go our way today, we're not showing anything in attack, you know, they might hit us on the break, you know, we create something out of nowhere, and of course Bale pops up with an absolutely fantastic header that, you know, what sort of header you only see, you know, once every few years, you know, absolutely brilliant.
It was a top result, and but not a great performance, but hey, who cares?
It was a bit of a blur after about 2 o'clock in the morning, but the singing, the dancing, we just made Iron Appa our own for a few days.
We didn't do any of that because we were working.
I think I stayed up until, you know, 8 o'clock in the morning watching the sunrise and just, you know, hugging my friends, you know, when the sun came out, just going, this is our time, you know, absolutely brilliant.
A win at home to Israel meant the qualification was a certain, but a resilient defensive performance from the Israelis meant that Wales could only manage a draw, which meant qualification would have to wait till Bosnia.
The bus journey to the stadium was hellish, no toilets open. There's a lot of people who had an awful lot to drink who were really struggling on the bus trip in there. And you get there and it's wet and it's pouring down with rain, but you know, you're bouncing, you know this will be the time we're going to do it. You know, we get a point here and we've done it. We're actually going to qualify in my lifetime, which I never thought would happen.
Bosnia was a massive mixed emotion because Wales didn't play particularly well. The Bosnians looked good.
And the old doubts creep in. You just think, Christ, we're losing. Why are we losing? We've actually blown it again. But everyone's got the internet these days on the phones. You get updates from around the crowd. And you've got Bryn Law stood at the front. And Bryn Law's giving us updates now and again. And he's flashing the old 2-1 at the front of the stand. And you know, even when the game finishes, there's a shout from Bryn Law like a minute before our game finishes that it's finished 2-1. We know we've qualified.
When Bryn Law turned round and explained to us that it was 2-1 to Cyprus against Israel, and I think we all sort of knew, but then the players weren't celebrating. And as soon as Coleman turned round and started, you know, shaking his fist to us, it was just like, yes, it's happened, finally. And we all just let like a massive sigh of relief out, literally just bear hugs with everyone around us.
And the place is going bananas. And I look around and there are faces I've known for 20, 25 years travelling away. These are guys who are now you know, in their mid to late 50s. Hard men, you know, you wouldn't want to tangle with them. And there are tears streaming down their face, and they're hugging their mates, and you're just like, words fail me. It was just the most incredible moment.
I don't know, I kind of like just stood there. It was just all a little bit too much for me.
I was already on top C on radio saying, you know, recalling all the heartbreak and disappointments. Wales are through the class of 2015, etc., etc.
Nothing like those celebrations have I ever witnessed in my life. You know, throwing Coleman up in the air, him running over towards us, the players sliding, you know, everything. And I just remember, you know, hugging my old man. You know, me and my old man have been going through this together for since he started taking me. He's obviously been through it a lot longer than I have. You know, him, his mates, my mates, all of us have been going away all the time. It was for us, you know.
For me, it's the case of camaraderie.
There's something about standing shoulder to shoulder on the terrace, and when it's your country, and when you're travelling, you know, thousands of miles to do it as well, really unites you.
You meet people who you wouldn't have found without football.
There's no age barrier, regardless of whether you're 18 or 80. You're actually there to support the same team.
And also to fly against the norm. The tradition, certainly in the South Wales valleys, the impression is that if you're Welsh, you must love rugby. You must be all about the Six Nations. I just loved the opportunity to do something different and prove that you don't have to be all about rugby.
It obviously cost me quite a significant amount of cash to do this, and I do wonder whether perhaps I wouldn't have a mortgage anymore if I didn't spend so much money on football.
Sacrifices are made by all of us, you know, to try and follow Wales. You know, I think I try to explain to people, you know, I go and do all this, and they say, well, how do you afford it? How do you do all that? Well, basically, I spend all my money on football. You know, I don't go out, I don't buy clothes.
I give up my holidays for it. I give up my money for it, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
I think there's a nice balance to be had, and I'm probably my girlfriend will certainly tell you that I'm the wrong side of the balance, but hey, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm sure she can have a few holidays at some point in the future.
It's just been a fantastic trip. I mean, it's just an unbelievable time to be covering the Wales football team.
After all these years, I'm still here.
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 After all these years, I'm still here.